Good morning, friends. Welcome to a new series of lecture in which I'll be dealing with the origin of English language, its history and its development, and the various stages through which it underwent in order to become lingua franca, or we may say the journey of English from a dialect to the lingua franca and the language of Westminster, and then Oxford University, mm, and United Nations. But here in the first part of the lecture, I'll be dealing only with what is language, what are its consonants, what is sound system, what is pronunciation, and what is morpheme, and what is syntax. This will be the only focused area in this lecture. In the next lecture, I'll be discussing in detail about the origin of the language from the Anglo-Saxon to the 20th century and 21st century, and the emergence of this language, and then the inception of the new vocabulary and the addition of the new vocabulary in this time of modern information and technology. So, friends, I would like to request you, please subscribe my channel, and let me know in the comment section what sort of changes you want, and whether you are seeking benefit out of these lectures or not. So I'll be highly grateful to you for this if you subscribe my channel and encourage me to carry out this expedition. So let us discuss what actually language is, and then we'll discuss what are the various features of language in a very precise and very concise manner. Language is expression of human personality in words. So the first definition, or the precise definition, is what actually language is. Language is basically expression of human personality in words. The medium of expression is words. We have to remember it, that it is word which is the medium of expression. So how language is expression of human personality? Because man is nothing but product of his thought. He is a sensitive individual. He perceives, he thinks, he meditates, he decides, he hates, he loves, and all sort of sensitive feelings and these experiences are there with the man. And when he expresses these feelings, when he expresses what he thinks to the other individual, that is language. But that should be in the form of the words. So in another definition, we can say that language is expression of perception, supposition, conception, and judgment through the medium of the word, whether written or spoken. Here, two words should be focused. One is written and the other is spoken. There are two methods of expression. One is written and the other is spoken, or script and oral, we can say it. Written is when somebody writes his ideas, his emotions, his feelings, his whims, and then mm, his experiences. Like we have creative writing, like we have editorials in newspaper, we have blogs, we have novels, we have dramas, we have poems, and so many things. So in the creative writing, we have uh, the written expression of the language. And when somebody delivers a lecture, when somebody verbally talks to the rest of the people, to the individual, that is the medium of the speech. So we learned that there are two mediums of expression. One is written medium and the other is speech medium or spoken medium. Now let us discuss very precisely and comprehensively the significant and salient features of language. Language is always universal and transcends geographical boundaries. So, the first feature of the language is it is universal. You can't confine a language, or you can't ascribe language to a particular culture, to a particular community, or you can't confine it to the four walls of a house, or you can't confine it within a small or within a particular area. The beauty of the language is it is universal, it is appealing to the universe, and it is not confined to the boundaries. The second feature is it is evolutionary and it is not static. Uh, you might have learned that evolution is a process through which one attains development and perfection. And, and the static is stands for stagnant, or something which is stationary, which cannot move. But the concern here is that language is always evolutionary. It keeps unchanging, it keeps on improving, it is dynamic, it is not static. It is not so that when English was merely in the form of East Midland dialect, and the word we used there, for example, we used a word doth, and now we'll be stick to that word, we'll be using it doth. No, the word has underwent many changes. Now it has become what? Now it has become do. We had a word hath, now it has become have. So this is evolution. Had language been static, had there been no mm, evolution in the language, the world would have been same right from the 30th 5th century 6th century to till date. But the languages have undergone so many changes, the words have underwent so many changes, and that is the only way to justify and vindicate the fact that language is always evolutionary. It keeps on changing, it keeps on improving, it is a persistent, it is in a persistent and perpetual process to attain perfection and to meet with the changing um, scenario. So it is not static. Now we'll see that every individual is part of society and culture, and literature is reflection of culture, or it is reflection of the life and the culture and the society. uh, uh, it always holds a mirror. So literature is expressed through a medium which is language. So we can't see language in vacuum or in isolation from the social, cultural, political, and economic conditions. It can't be seen from this point of view. It can't be isolated. We cannot detach it from social, cultural, political, and economic condition, because it is always part of the system. Now let us discuss what constitutes language. There are many mistakes in the slides, beg pardon for that, and I'll take in the future. LANGUAGE language. You can note it down. What constitutes language? Because everything is made up of constituents. Now, what is it that constitutes a language? Language is made up of words. Words are made up of symbols and signs. Hence, we can say that signs are the symbols, are the basic units of a language, are the basic building blocks of the edifice of language. Like in English, we have alphabets A, B, C, D, E, F. In Urdu, we have Alif, Be, Pe. In Hindi we have ka kha. In other languages there are alphabets. There are some languages that possess their own manuscript. There are certain languages that don't possess their own manuscript, like we have this uh, Persian doesn't have its own manuscript. Basically, it is in the form of Arabic. Uh, there are so many other languages, like Kashmiri doesn't have its own manuscript. It is written in Urdu. Similar in a way, Dogri doesn't have its manuscript. It is written in Hindi. There are enormous examples that can be cited in this context. Now, a word is a symbol or a sign which, when we articulate from our utter, from our mouth, from our lips, it produces a sound. So to articulate a symbol is simply alphabet, or a sign of or a sign or speaking in a particular way is known as accent. So we have to notice it. What is accent? Basically, accent is CENT, accent. Basically, accent is a manner or a way of pronouncing a word. But accent varies from place to place, from culture to culture, from it is always influenced by the mother tongue of an individual. Say, for example, if a South Indian will pronounce a word, he would say education. He would say uh, he would say education to education. He would say yam to m. And similar in a way, if a Dogra is pronouncing word vice chancellor, he would say vice chancellor. If he is pronouncing a word vacuum, he would be saying it vacuum. And then if a Kashmiri pronounces a word science, he would pronounce it sinus, because accent always varies from place to place, from culture to culture, and from individual to individual. So, in order to cope up with that, in order to bring uniformity in pronunciation so that every individual could be accessible and ascertainable and tangible to others, International Pronunciation Association was formed and it standardized the pronunciation. So there are basically two forms of pronunciation. One is received pronunciation, that we receive from the culture, from the house, from mother, from teacher, from parents, from friends, from game, from TV, from club, from shopkeeper. We are standing there at a shop and asking for, sir, give me balloon, and the shopkeeper will say balloon. It means that we are receiving pronunciation from him. When we go to the playground and umpire says he is out, we are receiving pronunciation from him. So received pronunciation is that one imbibes from his or her culture, and the international pronunciation is the pronunciation which has been standardized in order to seize the variety and variation in the pronunciation. So each language has its own phonetic or sound system. This is called phonology. This is called phonology. Phonology. This is called phonology. So phonology is basically a sound system of a language. So the basic unit of sound is letter, and the letter is A, B, and Z. And these letters are also called symbols or signs. So these signs, when come together, they form a word. So there is superiority of sound to letter or speech to script. As I told you that there are two medium of expression. Word is there, symbol is there, sign is there, but the medium is different. First one is script, which is always available, which is always accessible to the people, and the other is your oral dictation or your speech, which is temporary and which is not permanent. In every language of the world, script developed subsequent to articulation or oral. So you have to mark this point that script came first, oral tradition came first, because uh, so far as writing is concerned, script is concerned, for this you need sophistication, you need development, you need material for writing, you need pen, you need paper, you need manuscript and all. But these things develop with the passage of the time. But oral articulation you learn very early. So we can say that script comes later and oral or the verbal tradition comes first. Every language begins with speaking, later on it develops its manuscript, and then it transform its words into symbols and signs, and then a manuscript is prepared, which takes the form of the language. So spoken language spoken language is superior to the script or written language because of the dominance and benefit of presence. See, spoken language is always speech is always superior. um, it has also been said by Derrida, uh, from text to in his essay From Text to Speech. See, your speech, when you speak something, uh, it is always present. Your words are present, and your words leaves an impression on the minds of your listener, and that is why speech gets precedence over the written language. But letter or written language too has advantages which are shared by speech. See, we can't undermine, we can't underrate, or we can't underestimate the scope and advantages and the privileges of the written or written language or a script, because what one speaks in a public rally, the way he makes very flagrant and harangue, that is confined to a time period. Once once you come down of the dice, your words are no more there. Even those words are not available to those people who were not present over there. But if somebody has written it, it is always preserved and reproducible, and it is always accessible to the people. See, for example, we listen something on radio, we watch something on television, we have some sort of recording material, then we are dependent on that. We have to run with the pace of the with the tempo, and with the pace of and the modulation and the tempo that the system organizer chooses. But in script we have it, we can read it anytime, anywhere, everywhere. So the other division of the language is morphology and syntax. The basic word on which any language of the world runs is on which any form of the word run is word. This is word, and the letter. Dear friends, letter constitutes word, word constitutes sentences. Okay, so let me tell you what is morphology and what is syntax. Morphology, it contains two types of words. Morphology is basically the arrangement of letters in a word. Okay, and syntax is arrangement of words in sentence. Morphology is word structure. It deals with word structure. Say for example, ability, ability. It analyzes ability and its sound system. And when same words when we organize these same words in a sentence to make clause, to make a sentence, to make a phrase, that is called syntax. Syntax. Syntax is the arrangement of the words in order to make a meaningful sentence. Now let us discuss morphology in a broader way, in a broader sense. Uh, Morphology contains two types of words, other two categories. That is inflection. Inflection is basically transformation of one word into other forms or one word into many other forms. Say for example, we have words he. From he, we transform it and it became him. And from him, it became his. So on and so forth. Okay, and the second part of morphology is derivation or the coinage. Some people pronounce it derivation. The way you like, you can pronounce it, because in India we can pronounce words in English. We can't pronounce words in pure English. So derivation of the words, it is coinage and derivation of the words from various roots like Latin, French, Greeks, etc. So before we conclude our lecture, let me tell you very important point. Speech and text are always inseparable. They can't be separated from each other. Both are equally important, because if speech is important and text is also important, and if text is important, speech is also important. Nothing is known for certain, though very much speculated of the origin of the language. Basically, one cannot say with surety and certainty that when a language came into being or when a language emerged exactly, because dates and calendar can't be fixed for the origin of the language, because it's a very slow and steady process. And when people from different culture come in contact with each other, and then they first they communicate with each other, um, and later on the language starts developing. It is thought what we think, which essentiates and necessitates the expression. That expression of feeling, thought, hatred, love, sympathy, etc. is language. So human thought process and its feelings and its emotions is the precursor of the origin of a language. Origin of language is bound up with that of human thought. In the ensuing lecture, so language emerges from the thought process of human being when he feels hindrance in order to communicate, in order to convey his thought to the other people from a different culture, and then from this convergence they starts developing a new language which becomes a common language between the both. This is the first part. Here we discussed very precisely about the origin of what actually language is, and what are its components, major components rather. In the next lecture, I'll be dealing with the origin of English language, its development, and the various changes that it has seen over the time. We'll talk about the various laws. We'll talk about its parliamentary nature. We'll talk about its inclusion into the school curriculum. We'll talk about the 1362 language law and all. Each and everything will be covered in that lecture. So you are requested to follow that lecture too. That will be uploaded tomorrow. So you are once again requested to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon, so that when the next lecture will be uploaded, you may be able to get the notification and you don't miss that opportunity. Thank you so much for listening my lecture. Don't forget to give your feedback in the comment section. Thank you so much. Have a nice time ahead. God bless you all.